Ocean Space is the home of TBA 21 Academy, right? And TBA 21 Academy is now celebrating its 10th anniversary, its 10th birthday, which is quite extraordinary. In the beginning, it was really itinerant. No, we were the home was a boat, a 39-meter explorer vessel, the Dardanella, where we invited artists and scientists and environmentalists and legal experts and more indigenous leadership to come together to live on, in, and in the ocean, right? And from there, kind of start an artistic research project. After 7 years, we realized that the methodology, the approach, the network has grown and manifested in such a way that it was really necessary to find a home, right, where people can encounter the work, but also encounter the network and the people that are contributing from so many different angles to the different topics that we were looking into. And also where we can continuously allow ourselves to intervene in the city and in its direct environment, right? So before we mounted our first exhibition with the Academy, we were looking intensely into the processes around science, intensely around the processes of conservation. We initiated 3 conservation projects before we ever mounted our first exhibition. We were looking into policy making and became observers at the International Seabed Authority. Now we are on this advisory council for the Mission Healthy Ocean of the European Union. And only then we really got into our core business of making art and exhibitions. And so, but when all of this kind of settled, the space became a logical consequence.
And how come you were so interested in Venice? Was it always implied that you would end up here?
No, it wasn't always implied, but what we realized was that proximity and the reality of the ocean is absolutely necessary, right? And this is the case in Venice. When we open the door, there's the canal here and the canal in the back, so the water is right there. That's the one thing. The other thing is the reality of the climate crisis, right? We have these high water events occurring more and more regularly and more devastatingly. That's the other thing. And then Venice is a relatively unusual place in many regards, right? It has this long tradition of exchange of ideas, exchange of goods, exchange of philosophies. And then, since 100 years, the city allows to reflect upon itself and upon the world through the lens of art, right? So all of that made Venice really a fantastic place for the Academy to have its home. And then it's quite unusual that there's, it's a community of 45,000 people, but the transient community of talent that comes through, and it doesn't matter if it's art, culture, science, conservation, somehow they all come through here, which is for that size of a city or size of a community is very unusual. The other thing that we were really interested in and adamant about was that this is first and foremost a gesture for the city, right? And therefore everything is bilingual, everything is Italian and then English and so on, and it doesn't matter if it's our curatorial text or if it's the educational program, the public programming. But through that you also tap into a kind of a history or a memory that is a maritime history and memory. So a lot of people that come to this space would never go to the Biennale or any of the other art spaces because somehow they don't feel invited, and the ocean makes it possible to actually be invited. And yesterday I had a relatively interesting conversation with a colleague, with a curator, and she said, listen, I'm absolutely not interested, or I was not interested in the ocean. And through the lens of art or through the work of Territorial Agency, which is currently being exhibited, she realized that there's so many points that are actually intersecting with her life and relevant for her life that she says, oh, I need to look into this, which is amazing.
Yeah, we're standing right now in front of San Lorenzo. Your location was in Venice. You opened the space with a journalist exhibition. What are you currently showing?
We're currently showing 2 exhibitions. For the first time, we have 2 exhibitions on at the same time. One, in the first space, we still have Territorial Agency, Oceans in Transformation, which in a slight adaptation to last year. spatially adapted, because last year they were in both spaces. Now we've brought everything into one space, but also the work in itself is adapted to what we learned from the exhibition last year, and territorial agency continued to work on the work as we can see it now. Plus we have a number of screens less in the space because we borrowed them to the Biennale, because territorial agency also has a part of the work in the Biennale. The second space is Taloi Havini, Answer to the Call. Is the work. It's the first exhibition in Chus Martinez' 2-year cycle of exhibition making at Ocean Space under the title The Soul Expanding Ocean, which is a direct result of her 3-year research as leader of the current, our fellowship program, which she led over the last 3 years with 2 exploratory voyages, one going to New Zealand, Aotearoa, and the other one to the Solomon Islands. And so what we see over the next 2 years is really research that she did during these 3 years. It's Taloi's largest solo exhibition so far in Europe, and it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful 22-channel sound installation. We managed, despite all challenges, we managed to get Taloi aboard the Falkor, the research vessel Falkor, which is owned by the Schmidt Ocean Institute. And they were doing a high-resolution mapping exercise of the Great Barrier Reef. Taloi realized that all of the sound, all of the imaging that is being produced on the boat is done through sonar and through sound, which then led her to kind of associate the way that the people from Bougainville, where she comes from, where she was born, map time and space through sound as well, storytelling, music, instruments, and so on. So she collapsed these 2 ideas and these 2 worldviews. One, this kind of scientific measurement, and B, the more indigenous way of relating to. And it's this really fantastically immersive, warm embrace of a sound piece. She sent us her island, the island of Buka, where she was born, and she said the other day, which was really beautiful, she said that this sensation of not being able to go home during the lockdown was so strong that she thought, okay, good, she's going to send her island to Venice so that the people here that can experience the work, which Taloi has not experienced in the space yet, can visit her island and rest on it. So it was really beautiful.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. We highly recommend everybody to check it out when you're in Venice. I know that you have incredible weekly programs throughout the whole summer, probably next year as well. Congratulations once again for opening.
Thank you very much.